I can't think of another activity that you can do with multi-generations like that. And the value of that is tremendous.
Does talking about your money make you cringe? Are you tired of fighting about finances? Do you want to stop sabotaging your financial happiness? Then you are in the right place. Welcome to Breaking Money Silence, a podcast series aimed at helping all of us talk more openly about money. Your host, Kathleen Kingsbury, is a wealth psychology expert who is doing what she does best, speaking about taboo topics. International speaker, author, and founder of KBK Wealth Connection, Kathleen understands money and our relationship with it. Over the past decade, she has empowered thousands of people to break money silence at home and at work. Now, here is Kathleen.
So today I have a good friend of mine and the marketing director of Mad River Glen. His name is Eric Friedman, and he comes to the podcast today to talk about one of my favorite sports and a myth that relates to it. So Eric, tell us a little bit about the myth that you're bringing today and what motivated you to talk about it.
Well, the myth that I'm here to talk to you about today is that skiing is too expensive.
Yes.
And yeah,
it is pricey.
It is a little pricey, but what I would argue is that you get what you pay for. And that there's a tremendous value in a sport like skiing because I think it's one of those activities that you can do with your kids, with your grandkids, that I can't think of another activity that you can do with multi-generations like that. And the value of that is tremendous.
So in some ways, it's kind of like you get what you pay for?
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm going to take a step back. You work at Mad River Glen, a very unique mountain, happens to be a great mountain and helped me move here with my husband to lovely Vermont. But tell the listeners a little bit about the mountain and how it may be different than some of the other mountains that they may have skied.
Yeah, Mad River Glen is arguably the most unique ski area in the United States. We're the only cooperatively owned non-for-profit ski area in the country. We're one of only 3 ski areas in the United States that don't allow snowboarding.
Yay!
We are in an era of climate change, in an era of $200 lift tickets and big corporatization of the industry. We really stand in stark contrast to that, and we're dedicated to protecting and preserving the unique experience that we have, which is so different from the rest of the industry. We're predominantly a natural snow ski area. We don't make a lot of snow. We have a grand total of 7 snow guns, and most ski areas in New England will have 7 in the course of 100 yards. And with natural snow as what we ski on, it's very different. And in this day and age, there's a lot of people that don't even know what natural snow feels like, or that there's even a difference between natural snow and man-made snow. So there's a special camaraderie among the skiers at Mad River, and I think all these things kind of come together, and all these facets come together to create a sense of place that I think is really unusual in the world of skiing. And I think another big part of it is the non-commercialism. We're sort of like the public radio or public television of ski areas.
That's a nice way of putting it, actually. The NPR of skiing, Mad River Glen. So Mad River Glen, obviously near and dear to my heart. I know what you're talking about in terms of different snow conditions because I choose to ski the natural snow, even if there's some rocks and some trees that I have to work around versus going elsewhere on a regular basis. Some of our listeners may not, but there's a lot of money that's spent on snowmaking. And is that what's driving up the ticket prices to skiing?
It's so many different things. And it was interesting as I was thinking about coming in to do this interview, I went back and looked at, because we just recently had our 70th anniversary is this season. And I went back and looked at what a lift ticket price cost in 1948.
Oh, excellent.
And it was $3.50. And if you go back and add inflation on that, it comes out to $60 or $70. Today, a lift ticket at Mad River, if you buy it rack rate, window rate, it's $89. Keep in mind, only about 10% of the people actually pay that. But it's a little bit more expensive than it was. So skiing has always been, quote unquote, an expensive sport. It's nothing new.
Okay. And so what we're saying is skiing is an expensive sport. And so I know some people, friends of mine who are athletic, who say they'll do lots of other different types of sports, but they won't come up and ski with us, or they won't go out west and ski because they think it's too expensive. Yeah. And so it sounds like there's some truth to this myth, but there also might be some ways in which it isn't too expensive. I guess I'm trying to figure out where you stand on that.
I think it can be a very expensive sport, but it doesn't have to be. And again, what I said earlier is about talking about the value of it and what you get for that and that experience that you get. And when you're up on top of a mountain and you're flying down the mountain and on a beautiful winter day and you have your family and your friends with you, and I mean, there's nothing as exhilarating as that. And, can you put a price tag on that? I would argue you can't.
You can't. And also, I think, and I know we're going to talk about the entire industry, but just to get back once again to Mad River quickly, Mad River makes it really affordable to be able to teach kids how to ski. And I know some other mountains do this as well, but let's just talk about what you know.
Yeah, we try very, very hard to make skiing affordable. Mad River is a nonprofit cooperative, and part of our mission is to provide recreational access for people on the mountain. So we take it very seriously. It's not just a business decision. It's a core principle of who we are. And I've been working at Mad River for well over 20 years, and I was there the very first year of the co-op. And when I started at Mad River, we always attracted hardcore skiers. And we never had trouble attracting hardcore skiers because of the nature of the mountain and all of that. What I saw lacking was young people and children and families, and kids programs were non-existent at that point in time. And we came up with the idea of offering free skiing for kids 12 and under. And they looked at me when I approached our co-op board with that first year. They looked at me like I had three heads, that we're going to give this away. And I'm like, well, it's a really good idea. It's an investment in the future. And I literally had to stake my job on that at a co-op board meeting. And they said, if this doesn't work, I'll walk away. But I really think it's going to work. And then I walked out. I'm like, gosh, I really hope this works. And 20 years later, we can look back on that. And that decision to do the free 12 and under program was without question the foundation of the Renaissance at Mad River Glen. And we really, truly have had a Renaissance over the last 20 some odd years. And we owe so much of it to instituting that program.
Yeah, that's a great program. It makes it more affordable for families. I certainly know friends who have come up and stayed with us because of that program and love Mad River, but also love the community environment. And so it sounds like there's ways in which skiing doesn't have to be too expensive, that it can be affordable. I know you can go top of the line and stay, out west, and you can stay right on the mountain, and you can certainly spend a ton. But let's get back to value, because I think that's an interesting thing. When we talk about, okay, skiing doesn't have to be expensive, that's kind of a myth that it has to be expensive. And what you really alluded to is the value that you can get through the experience of skiing. So I know that you grew up here as a kid. One of the things in your bio says that you are from a long line of Jewish skiers from New Jersey.
Great Jewish skiers from New Jersey.
Great Jewish skiers from New Jersey who didn't realize until you were an adult that it wasn't normal to ski 4 days a week. Right. So clearly you came from a family that valued skiing. Yeah. So say a little bit more about how that was important growing up and how you think that's important in raising your kids, or has been important in raising your kids.
I look back at my childhood, and I grew up in New Jersey. I didn't grow up here in Vermont. And like I said, I didn't realize that people didn't ski 4 days a week. My father, who was an attorney and a judge and, a legit business guy that with a very busy life and wife and kids and all that, it was super important for him to bring us up skiing. And I do not remember learning how to ski. I was 2 years old when I learned how to ski. My brothers were the same way. And I look back on that whole experience as the foundation for my whole life. I mean, everything that I've done has been so much related to skiing, where I went to college, where I moved to, the relationships I've had with different people. So much of it has to do with skiing. So I really owe that to my dad. Mom didn't ski. It was kind of funny. I used to feel bad that my mom didn't get to go out west skiing with us every year. And I remember recently, it was maybe 10 years ago, I finally realized that every time we went out skiing out west, she was going to Barbados with her girlfriends.
Mom had a good thing going.
She did. So she had her own values and own experience. But I look back on that and the relationship that I have with my brothers, the relationship that I have with my dad. So much is predicated on skiing. It's what we talk about. It's the thing that really binds us together. And now my kids and my brother's kids are all. It's the same thing.
Well, it's interesting because I grew up in a family where when we were younger, we would go sailing every weekend. And so it was around sailing. And then as I got older, and I usually joke with my dad, it's when I could afford my own lift ticket, is when we started skiing every other Friday. I had a job where I had every other Friday off. And so it would always be dad-daughter experiences skiing, and it really kind of grew. So a different story, but certainly I get the connection between family and, being outdoors and being in nature. And now when I first started dating my husband, he realized I was leaving every other Friday with or without him. So he decided to jump on the bandwagon. And now we share skiing together. So,
but you're still so much better than him.
Yeah, well, that's why I like you. That's why you're on the podcast today.
Well, we have a saying at Mad River, too. You know who the best skier is? It's the one with the biggest smile. So we always know you're always one of the best skiers on the hill, Kathleen.
Thank you. So what are some tips that you could offer somebody listening in that says, you know what, I do value my time with my kids. I do like skiing. I'd like to bring them into the sport, or I'd like to do it more. Yeah, what could they do?
One of the things that really frustrates me is that you'll see news reports about $200 lift tickets and, and $150 lift tickets and how expensive the sport is. And it can be, like we said earlier. But if you put some kind of thought into it and use some kind of planning, you really can save a lot of money and you can make it affordable. Especially with kids, you don't have to go to the fanciest ski areas. I think it's more important to learn at a smaller place is a good thing. There's so many feeder ski areas out there that offer so many great deals. So just research them.
I learned in Wisconsin at one of those feeder areas. Yeah.
And it's really, really important. And that's their bread and butter. And the big resorts, they rely on these feeder ski areas to provide new skiers to them. And they work really, really hard at it. And there's so many different programs, and especially in the summer and as you get into the early part of the fall, that's when they're offering their best deals. Actually, to be honest with you, it's really changed a lot in the ski industry now. Nowadays, it's in the springtime where they're offering, you can get a season pass for the spring. That's good for the rest of that year as well as the rest of the next year to get you in the system and into the pipeline. And Mad River, we've traditionally not done that, but we're actually going to start doing that this spring.
Oh, great.
Just because, frankly, the battle for season passes and tickets is being fought then.
In the spring.
So that's when they're going to be most aggressive with their deals. Equipment is another really big expense, and it can be really expensive. You can buy a pair of skis can cost upwards of $1,000, but it doesn't need to be, especially for kids. And from someone that I always got really good deals on equipment for my kids because I'm in the industry, I always leased equipment for my kids, $99, $149, or whatever it is.
So you can lease
year.
It from a rental place.
From local ski shops. Will lease them for the year. And what's awesome about it, especially with children, if they grow out of their boots in the middle of the year, which happens, you just bring them back. They'll give you a new pair of boots, and you're off and running. And for that kind of money, it's not that big of a deal. I mean, think about it. You can spend $99 or $149 on sneakers these days.
Sure.
And I would argue you get a lot more value out of that ski equipment than you'd ever get for a pair of kicks.
Well, I've always thought that the more you ski, the more you commit to it as a sport, the less expensive it gets, right? Sure. So you get your season pass. It's a different way of life. Or even you get some passes in advance. And so if you can't afford or don't want to have a season pass. And then there's all these opportunities to save. I mean, simple things like bringing your lunch, really thinking about equipment and ski and sport sales. I know there's one here locally, but at every high school, there's usually a ski and sport sale at some point where you can get somebody else's used equipment.
Right. And I must say, and you can get some good deals there, but you have to know what you're looking at and what you're getting. And that's why I kind of tend to steer people away from that.
Okay.
Because you want to go to a ski shop where they know you're going to get fit kit with good equipment that's going to be appropriate for the person. The other thing, it was interesting, you mentioned season passes and making a commitment. And as a ski area marketing director, I would love for you to buy a season pass, and I really appreciate that you do. But for people just starting out, I think it's really important that they don't need to make that kind of a commitment. Every ski area has a beginner learn to ski package, which is consciously very inexpensive because we want to lure you into the sport. We're like drug dealers, get you in. And
I am addicted, so I did get lured in.
No, it definitely does. And, so I think that you have to look at it in a different way. If you're a family or people that are just starting out in the sport, you don't want to spend $1,000 or $800 or whatever it is on a season pass. You want to give it a try. Every state ski association, the Vermont Ski Areas Association here, and the National Ski Areas Association has January's Learn to Ski Month, Bring a Friend to Ski Month, and there's all sorts of deals and promotions going on with that. A new thing these days with lift tickets is online purchasing of lift tickets. When I was a kid, when we were kids, that was unheard of. You go up to the ticket office, it's whatever it is, and you put your money down and you go. Nowadays, lift tickets, even at a place like Mad River, is very much like buying an airline ticket. If you ski at non-peak times and you make make a decision to ski in advance, if you book a ticket a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, or a month out, you're going to pay a lot less money. And you can go on the Mad River Glen website and buy a $29 lift ticket midweek any time the rest of the year.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's too bad I have a season pass.
Right. And that's the thing, though, is we are very conscious of how we price things, and we're very sophisticated with it, believe it or not. I know Mad River is not necessarily known as being the sophisticated place, but we really are. We give our best discount to our best customers. And so if you buy a season pass and you're going to use it a fair amount, your cost per day is going to be pretty low. We have another product called a Mad Card for people that maybe aren't going to ski enough to have a season pass. And that gets you out skiing for, I think it's $56 a day. So that makes it much more reasonable. And then again, if that's something that you don't want to commit to, and you're only going to come, let's say, to Mad River once or twice a year, buy the tickets online. And you can, if you're smart about it and you're a good shopper, just like anything, you can really save a lot of money, and it doesn't have to be expensive. I mean, the thing that has been interesting at Mad River is the fact that we've done this 12 and under free ski program, so that if you buy any adult season pass or a Mad Card, kids that are 12 and under get a free season pass. And, you just can't beat that with a stick.
No, it's awesome. And like I said, I have friends who have done that as well. And so is the industry as a whole, because I know you attend a lot of association meetings, are they addressing this idea that skiing is too expensive? And how do we communicate to people out there that it is something that can be affordable?
I don't think it's so much the affordability question that they're always wrestling with. The reality in it, coming as a ski area operator, it's expensive for us to run a ski area, between labor and insurance and snowmaking, and you just total this budget up, and it's astronomical for what we pay, and there's not a great return on our investment for what we're trying to do, and it's really, really hard for ski areas to make money. There's only about 700 ski areas in the United States right now. There used to be twice that.
Oh, wow.
Ski areas have gone away. Every little town in Vermont used to have a ski slope, little rope tows and things like that, or smaller ski areas. And they just can't make it anymore. So it's become a very, very competitive industry. And I think what they're more concerned with than the actual keeping the price down is they're more concerned of bringing people into the sport and converting them into skiers. Because if you really think about it, skiing's kind of a pain in the butt. It's cold out. You got to spend the money. You got to drive to the mountain. You have kids screaming. You got, all this equipment. You got to really want to do it.
See, I would argue from the outside, clearly I'm very big into skiing. But if I was taking my kids to a soccer and doing soccer camp, aren't they screaming in the car, and isn't it expensive? And
it's warmer out usually.
Okay, it is warmer. And I don't like the cold, but I do put up with the cold. So I understand that it's a challenge for a family, or even, we have individuals who are listening, for an individual. So it sounds like with this particular myth, Eric, it's not that it's truly, truly a myth that skiing is too expensive. It's more the fact is skiing can be expensive. It can be more affordable. And that I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you tell me if this is it, that, skiing is a value.
Yes.
Is it okay?
No, skiing, like I said, I cannot, I can't emphasize it enough in that what you get on that mountain when you are up there and when you're skiing down and you have that feeling of being out there in nature and the beautiful views and the fresh air and being with your family and being with your friends and that sense of camaraderie, which I know at Mad River is such a huge part of the experience there. I just can't put a value on it. I mean, I don't even know what I would do without it. There's nothing in my life that I care about as much as that. And I think that when you look at what it costs you, it's really small. And I compare it to other things that I spend money on. It's a choice, and you got to make that choice, and what's good for you and for your family.
And I think that's such a great message to leave people with, the idea that, anything that we invest in, whether it's a sport, it could be skiing, which we're talking about today. It could be a different type of sport. It could be something else that's an interest, like theater or going out to, if you're a foodie and you're always going out to restaurants, that it's really about what are the choices I'm going to make. So it isn't about too much or too expensive. It's really about, I'm going to make this choice. I'm going to figure out how to be as fiscally responsible with this choice. And we've talked today about different ways to do that. And then I'm going to live my values. And you're right. I have a very big smile on my face when I'm at Mad River. Is there anything else you'd like to add in terms of what's coming up for you or something that Mad River's doing that you'd want the listeners to know about?
Yeah, I think one of we're actually starting something new just this week. We have a new program that's funded by our Preserve Our Paradise campaign. It was a capital campaign that we're working on called Skiing for Scholars. And we are offering free skiing and extended skiing to local kids here in the Valley. So we're offering free skiing, we're offering free rentals, free instruction. And not only that, we're actually keeping one of our lifts open an extra hour so that kids have time to after school to come and ski and get turned on to it. And I'm really proud of that program, and it's really an amazing thing. I know that we have reservations for this Friday for 10 children to come skiing at Mad River that have never skied in their lives.
Oh, it's awesome. And what's awesome about that, too, is you think about, we want kids to be healthy. We want them to figure out how to get their aggression out in a healthy way. And certainly skiing is a great way when you're feeling frustrated to get out there in nature or to figure out how to connect with other people. And what's so great about you, I think, Eric, is truly you really, really care about the sport, but really about the community. So I appreciate you breaking money silence around this topic today.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Kathleen. I really appreciate being here.
Thank you for listening to Breaking Money Silence, hosted by Kathleen Burns Kingsbury, a wealth psychology expert, author, and founder of KBK Wealth Connection. If you like what you heard today, be sure to subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast app and leave a review. Also, share this episode with your friends and family. It is a great way to get the conversation started. For more money talk tips and information, or to hire Kathleen to speak at your next event, go to www.breakingmoneysilence.com.